Welcome to Epilogue Podcast, the show where we discuss some stuff that happened on a different show ages ago which nobody really cares about anymore.
Hi, I'm Portponky.
And I'm LeBloc.
Today, we're discussing Farscape, Season 3, Episode 21. Into the Lion's Den, Part 2. Wolf in Sheep's Clothing. Team Moya destroys the command carrier and terminates the Peacekeeper wormhole project. So, yeah.
So, this episode is awesome.
Yeah, this is a pretty awesome episode. It's not much debate there.
It would be strange if you stuck with Farscape this long and didn't enjoy this episode.
Oh, this is not what I want at all.
Yeah.
The Season of Death. The wheel turns once again. Has two of the crew have snuffed it. I'm counting Talon as a crew member.
Oh, okay. I was thinking I missed something. And then I remembered, I don't know where Stark is right now.
They left him on the planet of spooky mystics.
So he could be dead.
He could be dead. Good old Uncle Chris has snuffed it.
He had a really cool death.
Finally, he's cool.
All it took was for him to die.
All it took was for him to blow up a giant command carrier in a massive explosion that took up half an episode. Thousands are dead.
I didn't even consider he had a trick up his sleeve when he went to Scorpius. I thought he was just being a terrible person and ruining the plan. Didn't even think, oh, he might have something planned out.
It's unusual a little bit that he comes up with this plan and executes it.
Unusual because he usually doesn't do anything? Or what are you getting at?
He doesn't usually commit suicide. No, seriously, he's never... Okay, yeah, he's never committed suicide. He doesn't usually put himself in serious risk. He's a bit selfish.
Yes, his plans usually involve all the best things happening for him.
This plan seemed somewhat selfless. Somewhat. I mean, not really. He kind of did it to screw Scorpius as well.
And he knew everyone hates him, so he figured this would redeem himself for the viewers.
Everyone seems to hate him, apart from Aaron, who kind of sticks up for him.
That must be out of habit from being Peacekeeper.
He pretty much says that his life is basically ruined and boring.
His plan is so cool, though, because one, I got tricked. I didn't realize what he was doing. And it makes sense that he wouldn't tell John beforehand because Scorpius needs to be convinced that Crace is actually serious about this and trying to foil John's plan. And then it's cool that they used transportation technology to take out the command carrier to make it collapse in on itself. It wasn't just, hey, let's use a giant gun or something. And it fits in with what we know about Starburst. It would take massive amounts of energy. It can't dissipate. It's trapped there. So it made in-world sense, and it was it took some ingenuity. So it was cool.
It fits with Farscape's previous good efforts towards building a consistent world. So Crace probably had to deceive John because he can't lie to Scorpius.
Yeah. Which would kind of ruin everything.
It was a pretty clever plan.
And it's even better because they set us up with, well, how will we blow up this thing? Well, there's a lot of weapons, and that's really boring, just setting off stuff.
It seems like it's going to be a sort of heist style episode, but no, it's not.
And then the destruction looked cool, the debris flying, and you feel the power of the flames, I guess.
Henta felt the power of the flames.
Oh yeah, that was gruesome.
Did that feel weirdly gruesome to you?
Yeah, it was really abrupt. Okay, she's flash fried and dead.
It seems to me like they made the effect and it came out way more realistic than they maybe intended. But they're like, well, it does look pretty good, so I guess we'll just keep it.
We spent all this time. Let's leave it in there.
It's a bit Deus Ex Machina. The Henta just got baked alive randomly.
Just as she was about to fire on Aaron. That's a little annoying.
Maybe that's why they made it so gruesome. To distract you from how contrived it was.
I can buy that, actually. I had a similar reaction to the gushing water. I didn't understand why that was happening, but then it looked so cool, and I was distracted, so I didn't really care. Scorpius standing on the steps, sparks flying, water flowing.
That, for me, is probably the most iconic Farscape scene. Or certainly one of them. There's no point. Why is he walking around in the sauna?
There's 0 point. They hope you're distracted by the visuals.
I think he just kind of wandered away and was just sort of dazed and confused. Like his life has just been ruined.
Okay.
He can finally join John and Grace's club of people whose lives have been ruined. And then he gets his senses together and stops looking amazing on the stairway and runs to his office and orders evacuation. The reason I'm running through this in order is because he says, Braca, come with me.
And why did you want to lead to that?
Where is Braca going with Scorpius?
To say their final goodbyes.
Perhaps. We never see where they went or what they did. Next time we see Scorpius, he's with John in the science lab.
Again, they offer an off-screen death for Scorpius, and again, I do not buy it.
Well, Captain goes down with his ship.
I need to see a mangled body before I believe Scorpius is dead. His mangled body, not a random one.
Yeah, that was evident. Anyway, how do you know if he even can be mangled? He seems like he might be kind of elastic. Like he always pops back into the same shape.
That's why he's so wrinkly, all the stretching.
There wasn't much plot in this episode.
You don't need much plot when you destroy a command carrier.
Pretty much. Yes, there was not criticism. It's just there's not too much to talk about. This was mostly a visual feast and tied up numerous storylines all at once.
Most of the crew don't even do anything. They're trapped in the cell. And then you have Erin walking around helping a little kid with a cut on her hand.
Erin had gone soft, but then when she gained compassion, she was able to do much worse things. Using empathy, she could justify blowing up a command carrier. It's like they kind of wanted to get into some moralistic argument about the capacity to protect people by harming others or something, but then it never really went anywhere and hinted and got set on fire.
I don't feel like there's much to that argument on a galactic scale. 1,000 lives to save millions and millions.
It's numbers, plus they're all enlisted soldiers, so it's kind of, it's a pretty simple equation. Loads of dudes versus a lot less military dudes. Maybe it's a good thing that Hinton got set on fire and we didn't have to go through this. One weird thing.
They hint at the argument, but...
Yeah, it doesn't go anywhere. One weird thing. Aaron doesn't get thrown in jail.
Yeah. Chris says, I need her around. I guess that was enough.
For some amazing rope trick?
That was weird.
Like, he knew he would need to take out exactly 6 guys. So it's like, well, Aaron can't go to jail. I need you to swing down on a rope 6 hours from now.
That made me feel like they had something more elaborate planned involving the rope, and then come shoot day, it wasn't working, so they settled on this. It's so weird. Why would this be your plan? I could see improvising that, but to say, no, I'm going to swing in after he tosses his little bomb, I don't know. It was strange.
Yeah, they have guns. Just shoot all of them. Flashbang them and then just shoot them all.
Doesn't look as cool, though. She could have been on the rope with a gun.
Yeah, that would have made more sense too. I don't know, the rope thing wasn't that cool.
No, it wasn't at all.
And it doesn't make sense that she wasn't in prison. Even if Crace said, oh no, she had nothing to do with it, Scorpius would throw her in prison as well.
He's not known for leniency.
And he's not known for trusting people. Which, by the way, all of this stuff with the command carrier, if he's still alive, he's just going to be worse.
Oh yeah, his life is ruined.
Oh yeah, he's joining John's club, like we said, of danger blindness.
If he survives, which I suspect he will, his singular focus will be to destroy John, because he can't do anything to the Scarens now. And so John is responsible for his life being ruined. He talked about not caring about vengeance, but that was specifically about destroying Earth. I think he could settle for destroying John.
I don't think so. He had a chance. After the iron bracelets came off, he could have easily taken care of John.
I think he was still processing the shock of having his life ruined.
So once he's come to terms with that, you think he'll be back and he'll be jonesing for a bit of Crichton murder?
Yes, exactly.
He's a kind of calculating guy, though.
He can calculate his swinging trajectory that from using a rope to kick John and kill him.
Is it going to be ropes every time now?
Ropes all the time. They can't be beaten.
Yeah. Anyway, John's IENCH bracelet code was 911.
I like that. Nice little detail. He needs 3 digits that he won't forget, and that's a good one for an American.
During production, they also considered 666. Scorpius's was 317, and previously he used 314.
When did he use 314?
At the cafe when they linked Braca to Dargo.
Oh, okay.
And then Braca's one went onto the cook, so maybe that was 315, and they tested it one more time, and he just increments the number by 1 each time. He's very bad with passwords.
I love that idea. Because Scorpius is older, so I see him struggling with technology.
Is he that old?
Who knows?
He looks... so we saw in Incubator, he joined the Peacekeepers and did all that stuff. So he could be kind of old. He doesn't look youthful, let's say that.
Yeah. And being bad with passwords, that's another knock against him.
Getting starry-eyed in a wormhole.
They were buddies in the wormhole.
Ah, he came so close. It's almost frustrating for Scorpius. I mean, John's got it all in his head and can even now extract parts of the knowledge. But Scorpius has really lost all hope of ever getting this.
There was nothing he could do. It was all outside of him that he was depending on. And that's super frustrating.
That's maybe why he was staggering around. Because
if the tasks were dependent on him, he would have succeeded a long time ago.
So it's just other people's inefficiency that are slowing him down.
Exactly.
John and Aaron at the end are sitting next to each other, and John's writing all over himself. They don't say anything. There's no dialogue.
It's a game they play.
I think it's emotional turmoil. I just thought it was a nice scene, and I've complimented this show before on not using dialogue at opportune moments. It is a show with a lot of good dialogue, and it's good to see when they know when to refrain.
Even in this episode, which is packed with great lines, yeah, they know when restraint is good. It's nice that they can rely on these actors. They're so good at playing off one another and selling these scenes, so they can get away with that. Hey, here's no dialogue. Do it anyway.
Speaking of relying on these actors, there was a lot of tentative goodbyes at the end.
That's a good idea when your plan involves huge explosions.
Oh, I didn't mean that. I mean after the explosions.
Oh.
Dargo and Rigel were kind of making peace. Because remember, they still have all the information from Scorpius to do with where their homes are.
Oh, right.
So they now can go home, should they choose to. Apart from Aaron, John, and Tiana. And Jewel. So really just Dargo and Rigel, I guess. Jewel said lots of people would be saying goodbye. I wanted her to scream and melt the jail cell.
Oh, that's what I was waiting for, too. When things started to look really hairy, I thought surely the bars will melt away because she's screaming right now.
I guess it wasn't really metal. It was plastic painted with metallic paint.
Or she didn't scream right.
She didn't do her sort of reptile-sounding scream. The Aurora chair made a comeback.
That poor guy. He was so into wormholes.
Kokura.
Now it's all gone.
That was a nice spanner in the works.
That he sacrificed himself?
He didn't sacrifice himself. He survived. Just sacrificed part of his brain.
Yeah. A part of his brain he was really fond of.
Just some memories of how this stuff works. It's interesting because information kind of... Have you ever heard the expression, information wants to be free?
Yes.
So John's trying to get rid of information here. And he doesn't realise that, Kokura knows it all as well. John's not going to kill him, and he's not just going to roll over and die for the safety of the galaxy.
I loved John's line, "It's never just science," and how true that is. There are obvious parallels like TNT.
It applies to loads of stuff. That's where the Nobel Prize came from. Alfred Nobel was presumed dead and did not like his obituary.
Because know that bit.
He invented dynamite.
I knew that.
I think he might have been his brother died, or he was incorrectly reported as being died. His obituary was posted in the paper. He read it and thought, "Oh, I'm not very popular," and left the prize fund to celebrate all the good things about humanity. So that was a nice save, because he is quite revered now. Certainly the prize is.
That was Crace's mistake. He didn't leave behind a prize.
There might be a Bylar Crace Memorial Fund. They could have a whip round, maybe do a couple fun runs, sponsored fun runs. There's only one episode left in this season. What's your prediction for how it's gonna all close up?
Scorpius is still alive.
Wow, you're really reaching there.
This show is so good at leaving me without obvious choices for where it can go. I have no idea what John's next move is, what the crew is going to do now that they have reason to split.
Well, John has two options.
Which are?
Either work on wormholes and go back to Earth, or take on the Scarans and stop them from developing wormholes. Which he kind of did a bit already.
I could see him developing the wormhole stuff. We left this episode with him writing the same wormhole symbol equation stuff. So that's probably a safe bet. And obviously he wants to go home, Earth.
You are right that this show is always unpredictable.
Here's an obvious one.
Oh yeah?
Safe bet. Aaron will fall for this John as well.
In the next episode, specifically.
She'll get past her seeing him as the extra.
Because he made a bigger explosion than the other John?
Yes, that's precisely why.
I mean, if that's your criteria, I guess he qualifies. He wasn't directly responsible for the explosion. It was his idea. This show is unpredictable because in other shows, this would be a season finale episode.
Yes, this works so well as a season finale, and it's shocking it's not the finale.
Do you have a quote from this episode which you would like to share?
It was tough to settle on one for this episode.
No doubt.
But I thought it was appropriate to go with Crace because it's his last episode, presumably. I am standing in your heart, and I am about to squeeze.
It's a good line. It gets Scorpius. You see him hearing that, and whenever Scorpius gets riled up, you know it's exciting.
I really like when he's riled up, and I also really like when he's in a situation where most people would experience pain, he doesn't show pain as much as frustration. Like, I'm so annoyed this is happening right now.
Yeah. There's one line that John says that I use in real life fairly often, which is where he says, "One evil at a time, that's the best I can do."
That was my runner-up. If it were not Crace's last episode, that would have been my choice.
It's very applicable. If someone says, can you go do this chore and that chore? You're like, well, one evil at a time.
It's good. He knows multitasking is a myth.
That's not the lesson. I like how John says we have one option. We blow up the command carrier and then the intros roll. The opening credits roll.
That's a good line to let you sit with.
It's not particularly. Yeah, it's not a particularly amazing line, but the show kind of just loves making these crazy, overblown moments, and then it loves to leave you hanging just for a minute to savor that kind of moment.
This has huge implications. All right, now watch these credits.
Just pause there for 2 minutes just to think about that. Because you know the next line is, no, we can't blow up this, that's too difficult, can't be done, etc., etc. So it's not like,
Right.
it's not particularly huge dialogue, but it's positioned very well. And there's other stuff they skip out. Like, we never actually see the command carrier exploding. It does a classic cut to Moya cruising through deep space.
Which I'm grateful for, because I doubt they would have done it justice, something that big exploding. For the time, they were limited in the CG they could pull off convincingly.
They've had a Scan Dreadnought explosion this season, so they've done their quota of big explosions.
They spent all their explosion money already.
Yeah, have a separate fund. It's time to move on and watch the next episode.
This is always true, but I'm very excited to move on.
Oh, yeah.
It's the finale, and we just had an amazing episode that tied up a whole bunch of stuff. So it's wide open now. And I have to assume they're going to leave a lot hanging as well to lead into the next season. So there's a lot of potential here.
They had a cliffhanger season 1 and a cliffhanger season 2. So who knows?
I will say cliffhanger.
That will be seen when we watch the next episode. Let's go.
Cliffhanger.
Okay, yeah, maybe.